All right, we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Inner Circle Podcast. Feels good to be back once again. It has been a solid week worth of news. A lot of big rumor that just got announced. We're definitely going to touch on that tonight, so I'm very excited to discuss that. We will also talk about Forza's success. Seems Game Pass once again does its job. We'll talk about xCloud. xCloud is a big deal. I don't think a lot of people understand the reasons why. I know PS Now has been doing it, but we're going to talk about why I think it's going to be pretty special for Xbox and things like that as well. And we'll touch on the little knickknacks here and there when it comes to the industry and gaming. But for the most part, we're really going to focus on this big rumor that has released over the earlier this week. So I'm kind of excited about that. But in the meantime, as we wait for Anchorman V to get it, what have you guys been playing this week? B, what you been up to?
Actually, I haven't been playing too much of anything this week. I've been crazy busy running around with the kids and stuff like that. I played a little 2K and fired up the Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3
Nice
on BC just to see what it was looking like, and it looks pretty good. Played pretty solidly, so was kind of excited about that, to kind of revisit that for a little bit. And then just been trying to finish out Spider-Man. So
nice working on the platinum for that.
B, you there?
Did we lose him? I think we lost him for a moment. I think he presumably is working on the platinum. Well, I mean, while we wait for him to come back, I've also been extremely busy this week and haven't gotten to play as much as I would have liked. I've been fooling around in Forza Horizon 4. It's a ton of fun. That game is pure fun. I love it. It's so good to just take in bits and pieces here. I have been completing my run of Red Dead Redemption in the lead up to Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out. I think I'm at 87 or 88% completion right now. So I'm almost done. I just need to collect a couple more outfits, couple of more things to do, a couple of side missions and stuff like that. That is a game that has held up really well. I've been preaching that the last couple of weeks, and I'll keep on doing so. If you have an Xbox One, or even if you have an X, get it. You need to see how well that game has held up, especially how it looks in 4K. Right. You know, or even downsampled on a 1080p screen. It looks fantastic. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing. I'm kind of in the calm before the storm of Red Dead Redemption 2. Looking at Soul Calibur 6, probably not going to be day one, but I'm looking at that as well because it's looking to be a lot of fun.
Okay. I've been streaming on the channel a little bit here and there, messing with the OBS and the XSplit, trying to figure out ways to stream more on the channel and bring more gaming content to the channel besides podcasts. And I played Jump Force. And I got to say, man, I'm really impressed with Jump Force and Capcom and what they've been doing with this game. Graphically, it's pretty impressive. I thought because the animations and the detail as far as the textures of the characters, I thought this game wasn't going to work. I really didn't. And even though it's still early, the game does feel just a little bit janky, meaning like there's like a little bit of, I don't know, like stutter, maybe like just a little bit. You can notice it sometimes. Maybe it's the camera, because I find myself sometimes doing like crazy moves or crazy attacks or combos and feeling like I'm leaving the camera behind, because some of the characters move extremely fast. Like some, not only say extremely fast, but they move pretty quick. And so you're flying across the screen, all these particle effects is going off, the ground is breaking, armor is falling off. It's pretty dope, man. It's a very different, unique game. I'm really excited to get my hands on it when it drops. And I got some like 40 minutes worth of gameplay. I try to use every character at the time during the beta and show off a little bit of everything. But it came out decent when I streamed. What I wound up doing was I loaded up on Mixer. And then from Mixer, I screen cap it on OBS in XSplit. So the OBS stream didn't come out the way I wanted it to. It was really just way too like blurry and fuzzy. XSplit came out much, much better. Even though there's like little stutter steps and pauses in there. And I really think that's just my graphics card problem on my PC. Because again, I didn't expect to like play games on it. And I guess it probably wasn't expecting to be receiving that type of graphic fidelity. CPU shouldn't be an issue, obviously, but definitely the GPU. So next year, I got to get a bigger GPU or a better GPU, shall I say, and continue to work on that. And I streamed a little bit of Destiny 2 earlier. I'm just trying to keep up with my homeboy, man. He's always talking to me about this game, continuing to play it, and we play it, and I'm just trying to catch up. I'm like light level 516, trying to get up to 600 and stuff like that. So I just been playing that off and on, and Tomb Raider as well, which so far, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be 100% honest. I felt like Tomb Raider had a player model graphical downgrade.
You know, I called this out like early, and like people was like super mad at me that I said like the game looks different.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it doesn't. Like same character models, just slightly different art direction. Like, no. It looks different. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong with her face.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, guys. I'll be the odd egg here. That game looks gorgeous to me. And not only that, it has some of the best underwater looks and underwater controls of any game I've ever played. I can't agree here.
Don't get me wrong. I think the game looks, as far as the environment and the world overall, looks great. That is without question. There's no debate in it so far from what I've been playing. But there's just something about the character models in this one where they either don't seem as realistic, or maybe they tried to go ultra realistic and the textures just came out a little cartoony. There's times when she's laying on the floor and they'll do a side panel shot of her, and her face just looks like the background has like these realistic textures. So like the ground looks realistic a little bit, and the bushes look realistic a little bit, or trying to portray itself as realistic as you're watching the game. But then you look at her face and her body, and her face just looks like a cartoon. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to crap on the game. It just looks different from the last game that came out, character model wise, where you would look at her face and her skin looked more, not more realistic. It just was on a better graphical fidelity compared to this one. I'm not saying anything about the environment or the water effects or the animals or anything like that. I'm just talking about the character models in particular. They look more cartoony in comparison to the last one. That's all. But overall, it's been fun so far that I've been playing the game and stuff like that. So I still have a ways to go. And we'll see where that picks up. But listen, let's go ahead. Let's get the show started. And once we get the show started, we will hopefully Anchorman will pop in and he'll join the chat, and we can go ahead and include him in the topics that we got going on. Go ahead and leave any questions in the chat or say what's up. Appreciate everybody that's stopping in right now, and we'll try to knock out the show to do a Q&A after. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Inner Circle Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox. I'm your host, Kara XKL, with B Money 101.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Dire Wolf 484.
Hey, good to be back, everybody.
And of course, Acreman V, who is supposed to be on his way to the chat right now. And we are your Inner Circle Podcast. So listen, man, big rumors going around with Microsoft in a very old school RPG developer. What's the guy's name? Klobrille, you mean? Klobrille? Yep. Yeah, Klobrille. So Klobrille was on Reset Era or Resetera, whatever it's called. And he was on there talking about this rumor that's been going. Oh, I'm sorry, not him. He was on Kotaku, or him, but Kotaku, Jason Schreier is what I meant to say. He did a post about this sources that he had got that was confirming that Microsoft are basically 90% done and signing a contract and bringing on Obsidian, the RPG developer, on into the first party spectrum and making them a first party studio. And for me, And I know for B Money, that's big news because that's something we've been asking for since I want to say like 2015 or 16. Back in the day when we were talking about studios that Microsoft should buy, because we felt like they were at the time too dependent on third party, and they wouldn't give their first party an opportunity to make something else besides Halo, Gears, and Forza. Shout out to Kid Smooth. So, with that being said, it's also come to my attention that Chloe Brill, who wound up leaving Reset Era, wind up hopping on Twitter and spoke about how the way Microsoft is going about picking up these studios is they're going to have a good portion of mid-tier studios and big AAA studios, and that's really going to have them in like a video game factory where they're sort of just pumping out these games that's supposed to be for Game Pass. And that's something that we said, I don't know how long ago, but like probably about a couple months ago, we talked extensively about that here on Tick Podcast, where we were like, if you're truly trying to make it the next Netflix of video games, like the video games for Netflix for video games, you truly have to invest in first party to a point that you got developers working on games that are coming out like Netflix brings out TV shows. And then every once in a while, you get a Netflix movie, and that's your big AAA game. So you have to have mid-tier and indie developers within your stable of studios that's going to produce games that are AA and A or just indie, and sort of put those out there that comes out on a basis where every 2 to 3 months you're getting a new exclusive from Xbox over the course of X amount of years, because you have this amount of studios built up into your first party now. In the meantime, you're waiting for the next big game from The Initiative. You're waiting for the next big game from 343. You're waiting for the next big game from Turn 10 and Turn 10 Second Studio and, the guys over at Ninja Theory. So it really puts Microsoft in a position where Obsidian can really come in and be that studio that they've always wanted with BioWare. And that's what they should do. And if they don't do that, I really will be appalled. I mean, I literally would be pretty pissed off. And I don't want them to make some Halo RPG, because I've seen a couple of you Xbox fans asking for it already. Nobody wants that. Like, we've had enough Halo games as it is.
Cal, everybody wants a Halo RPG.
Nobody wants a Halo RPG. I especially don't want a Halo RPG.
Okay, let's take a vote right now. All right, let's take a vote right now. B, do you want a Halo RPG?
Anything with RPG, I'm a fan of.
That's a yes. That's a yes.
I will say this. I have complained many of times about them going to the same well. And although Halo is a great IP, I would have to say no.
Thank you.
I agree. No Halo RPG.
Thank you.
My man. What's
Thank
up,
you, man. V in the building.
Because literally just think about it. What an RPG mechanic requires some sort of progression. Or what am I going to do? To shoot better? Like that's the thing. The best you could do.
Mass Effect was an RPG. What are you talking about?
Mass Effect was an RPG, but had superpowers. You had biotics to work with.
Areas of progression. That was one small area, dude.
Listen,
think of it this way: the best you could ever get in terms of RPG progression is Doom 2016. That's already been done, and it wasn't even that big of an upgrade tree for Doom. Like, that's the problem you're ultimately going to run into.
Listen, my thing is this. I love Halo. I think they've done enough experiments with Halo. I think they've done enough they're starting to do experiments with Gears, with this Gears Pop and this Gears strategy game, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. That's the first time they're really starting to deviate from the Gears franchise and on what it normally is. Halo has had a few titles. You got Halo Wars, which is a strategy game. You have the little Halo twin stick shooter. That's cool. They were at one point working on a Halo Mega Bloks game. Thank God that got canceled. And you're starting to see little tidbits about, Halo and racing games, and Forza, and little stages and items showing up in different things. That's great. It's an iconic franchise. It's an iconic game. But if you pick up Obsidian to have them work on a Halo game, I will get blocked by Phil Spencer. Like, that's how serious I would be upset, because I would literally go in and be like, this is insane.
They
This is
wouldn't just
insane.
be making that.
It doesn't matter. That's not what Xbox needs. And if they're going to do that, then build a second studio within 343. Don't use a studio that should be your next BioWare. These are the guys that need to come in and start working on your next big Western RPG.
What are the games that comes to mind when you think of Obsidian Entertainment? Tell me.
Fallout 7.
Fallout,
New Vegas.
Republic.
Republic.
Right.
What's that other game that came
Park.
out on 360? Yeah, South Park. You got the game that came out on 360 back in the day that was
Alpha
supposed
Protocol.
to be Alpha Protocol, which was
Right.
a really cool concept, but just didn't, hit the way it should have hit.
That's a common theme for all their games, honestly. A lot of their games have needed more time and more budget in the past, but they've done a great job, and that's why they're a great pickup. But if you've been paying attention, one of the requirements for them being acquired by Microsoft is for them to grow.
Right.
Past 200 developers. So they're not going to be working on just one game.
Yeah.
So I propose, hang on, because they've done such a great job working in other people's IPs, but they've also shown that they can start their own and do well there as well. What if they work on an established RPG series or an established game with an RPG setting, like a Halo RPG?
No.
One team works on, and then the other does something original. Something close to Dragon Age Origins, like a Dungeons.
No, I disagree. You know what they need to do? Here's what they need to do. One, and I'm telling you, they're probably going to do this. They're going to do an X update to Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, but
that's going to happen because
thing.
The X did not get an update for Fallout New Vegas. Like, if you go back and look at Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 looks way better.
Look, this is what they need to do. The first thing you need to do is work on a new IP. If you're going to get a franchise that needs to be rebooted into an RPG, then give them the Shadowrun license. You want to give them an RPG, give them the Shadowrun license. It is something that Microsoft could definitely use. It is a franchise that people have been asking for. It doesn't need to be this rebooted shooter that they initially had. Make it into your cyberpunk RPG. It doesn't have to be like Cyberpunk, but it has to be a type of game where it's cyberpunk-ish in like this futuristic type style game or this Fable type style game. Steampunkish, I guess you could say, not cyberpunk, but steampunkish, where you're dealing with elves and dwarves and humans in this world. That's what you want to do with that franchise. You want to give Obsidian something, give them Shadowrun. In the meantime, let them work on a game that we as fans have been begging Microsoft for forever, which is KOTOR. And though they don't have the license, they can create the next game that is similar to that in that style, that is like Mass Effect, that give you choices, that allows you to have progression and teammates that you get to work with and have them do things strategically, like in a Mass Effect. These guys really have that type of potential. And that other half that they were working on, like the other group, if they don't do Shadowrun, they can continue the things that they already were doing on PC with their CRPGs, like Pillars of Eternity and Tyranny. So you're not leaving out that PC crowd, because I would hate for them to abandon that group. So I just think that they need to do what it is Microsoft is allowing them to do, as far as continue to, if they're giving them the freedom, they should continue to work on the stuff that they've been working on. But when it comes to making these new games for the platform, they need to make something in the ilk of Knights of the Old Republic or Mass Effect, which was like what Alpha Protocol was trying to be at the time. So I think that would be a great way for them to do it, especially now they get a bigger budget and a bigger team. I do not want a Halo RPG, though. That's a disaster in the making. It really is. As much as fans will buy it, I'm sure they would buy it, I just feel like it would be a disaster.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Because they have all that prior work, I would not be entirely surprised if you might see maybe a little bit of remastering work going on in the back catalog. But other than that, I do agree. I do think that they need to be working on new franchises and use that opportunity to do something great. And even then, like, let's talk about for a moment like the absolute massive acquisition Microsoft's have been making. Like, these are like some of the best people in the industry they have now picked up. Like, now they just picked up Obsidian. Now they had Compulsion Games, which they just did We Happy Few, and they did that Shadow game, Contrast, and they Ninja Theory and Playground. Like this is some huge moves.
It's unheard of.
This is crazy. And I think what was the thing people were saying is like I forgot who tweeted it out whenever the acquisition came out initially. I forgot who tweeted it out, but I totally agree with what they said, that if you look at this, the only reason people are complaining about the Obsidian acquisition is because it wasn't Sony or Nintendo who did it. And that it's because it's Microsoft. And,
you're not wrong.
But this is some crazy stuff. And the best part is all these studios that have been picked up are good on working on deadlines. Like, even if they do compromise a few things, they still put out a quality product. And that's something that Microsoft, if you look at every other business deal they've done in the past, though every time they've had a problem, it's always because whoever they're working with is not meeting deadlines. Prime example, Platinum Games. They had a deadline, they missed it. We need more money. Deadline, missed it. Need more money. And all these people who are doing it are known for putting out quality products when they say they're going to do it.
That's a good assessment, I have to admit. The whole Platinum Games fiasco thing, the guys who are working on what's that game that we got canceled?
Scalebound?
No, we did not.
Phantom
get
Dust.
Scalebound. Thank you, Phantom Dust. We did not get. I would. If we got Scalebound canceled, what? I would be distraught. No, we did not get Scalebound canceled. Phantom Dust, yeah, Phantom Dust. Yeah, the Phantom Dust team was working on something, kept asking for money. The product just wasn't turning out the way I guess Microsoft expected it to be. It's just one of those things, man, where it makes sense. You know, they weren't meeting their deadlines. These people weren't developing. Microsoft decided to cut ties. You know, it's funny. I talk about this on Twitter every once in a while. You have people who always talk about what Microsoft hasn't done this generation instead of what Microsoft has done. Based off of the last 2 years, they want to talk about first party hasn't produced quality. I just think they haven't produced a diverse enough lineup as far as first party. People tend to exclude third parties that worked with the platform, but I think Microsoft did solid. Not better than 360 generation, but they did pretty good overall. I like the platform by itself, just the Xbox itself, everything that the Xbox itself entails, which is one of the reasons why I like the platform. But what Microsoft is doing now is really setting themselves up for the future. And you already have some franchises on lock. I'm already hearing that Rare is gearing up to work on a new game. I don't know what it's going to be. We've seen Ken Lobb talk about we will see a new Perfect Dark at some point.
I can tell you what it is.
Oh, boy. Here we go. What is it?
Sea of Thieves 2.
It's a new IP.
Man, you
It's
better
a new
stop.
IP.
You and Sea of Thieves. I love Sea of Thieves, though, but don't get me wrong. If they came out with Sea of Thieves 2, could you imagine if they came out with Sea of Thieves 2 and it didn't, and they're like, yeah, we're going to just release content? Like, they did the same thing again. Like, it didn't really have, it was like sort of bare bones a bit. Oh, my God.
No, it's going to be Sea of Thieves Horizon.
No.
They're going to have Playground working with them instead.
No, I think their next game is probably going to be one of the platformers that people keep asking about. Everybody keeps asking about Banjo or Conquer.
Banjo needs a comeback.
Banjo is the main one.
Banjo will get a comeback, but it won't be from Rare. Rare is making new IPs. They want to do new stuff. They'll hand Banjo off to someone like they handed Battletoads off.
Yeah, that caught me by surprise, the whole Battletoads thing, because it was like Studio Delilah. I'm like, what? Ooh, never heard of the studio before. What do they do? They
can prove themselves. This is their opportunity. This is their moment.
Thing about it. They didn't even have a website. Like, I went to go look at them when they first got announced, and I was like looking at it like online, and the website was like coming soon. I was like, what? You just hand a franchise like this to some studio that's up and coming? But they said that they were impressed with the presentation of what they plan to do with the game. So we'll see how it pans out. It looks interesting. That's for sure. I don't know what the initiative is working on, but here's my thing. Once again, Microsoft is starting to build these stable of franchises, and obviously, like you guys said earlier, it's gonna come off the wrong way to a lot of people. It's gonna come off to anybody who's not an Xbox fan or likes Xbox. It's gonna piss them off. We already know that. We've already seen we see what happened in Reset Era. We see what happened on Twitter. We see what happened in forums. People.
Let's be honest, though. Reset Era hates everything Xbox.
I think forums of that size, because there's so many PS guys out there, they're gonna hate on Xbox regardless. Nobody wants to see, like, if you're like a real fanboy for PlayStation and not just a gamer in general, you're gonna hate anything Xbox does, which is very toxic. I don't like that at all. But at the end of the day, man, you're gonna crap on whatever it is that you don't like. That's just how it is when you are a fanatic, and that's why fans are fanatics. But I feel like Microsoft really is starting to put all their ducks in a row finally, and they're starting to get their things going. The only thing Microsoft needs to continue to work on is their communication. I can't stress this enough. Every time we talk about the future, every time we talk about what they plan to do or what they have coming, communication for them this generation has been an absolute disaster. It was one of the weakest things and the weakest points that they had, as well as their marketing campaign, which was a lot less in comparison to what they did with 360. And it's even been stated that Sony has, for the last year or the year before that, or once again, they've outspent every other developer or platform holder as far as marketing their games. And that's important. That's impressive. And Microsoft needs to step their game up. But again, all your ducks in a row first. Get your studios, get your act together. Then you can worry about next generation and marketing the way you need to market, because they really need to market. Like, I knew Sony was on their A game when they had that train wrapped in Spider-Man, bro. I was impressed. I was like, God damn, they got a Spider-Man train, bro. And if they had that train running through Forest Hills, which is where Spider-Man is supposed to be from in Queens, I'm like, bro, if they got that joint running through Forest Hills, oh my God, that would be so fire. But at the end of the day, man, Microsoft definitely has to step up their marketing game next gen.
I don't know. I actually disagree with you on that. I don't think that marketing in terms of, paying for a wrap on a train is nearly as beneficial as things used to be. Let's look at games that have outsold others significantly. Let's look at PUBG. Have you ever seen an advertisement on a billboard for PUBG?
PUBG started on PC though.
That's the point though. It's about viral marketing. If you plug that thing to the right spot, people get interested.
There's a difference. There's a huge difference. The PC world is completely different from the console world. It truly is. And PC marketing is completely different from console marketing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just a level of things like for PC marketing, going viral makes sense. Like, that truly makes sense. It really does. Because if something was really like for example, if a game, you know how many indie games come out that don't have commercials, that don't go viral, even if they're good games, they don't really blow up. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't have the marketing dollars to push your content. Don't get me wrong. There's a huge difference between last generation and this generation with social media and the way we approach marketing, because you can sell one thing out and have an entire fan base retweet and promote it for free. But you still have to reach the casual consumer. And that's the one thing that Microsoft dropped the ball on. I think they relied too much on social media and themselves on this show multiple times. Both Aaron Greenberg and Ken Lobb said that they market their games on the front page of their consoles, which, no disrespect to them, was the craziest thing I've heard from any executive. Because I'm sitting up there saying to myself, you're trying to sell a product, right? And you want people to buy that product. But if they don't have the platform, how are they ever going to see your product? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how many Spider-Man commercials came across the TV screen last month? Like, it was insane the amount of Spider-Man commercials you saw. PlayStation. That's all I heard. That's all I heard. All last month. It was out of control. They pushed Spider-Man like it was a first-party IP. You know what I'm saying? So Microsoft used to do stuff like that. Halo was like a national event back in the day. This generation, it was okay. It was so. You know what I'm saying? But even then, like Forza,
no, they did good marketing for Halo.
No, they did.
The thing about Microsoft is they look at it in terms of like, okay, how much is this thing going to pull in for us versus how much money do I want to spend on this? Like if it's Halo or Gears, yeah, they'll throw out the marketing money for it, or even Forza. But if it's anything other than that, no, you get a tweet on you get a tweet from Twitter.
Like Killer Instinct is one of the highest rated fighting games this generation. For the beginning of the generation, we've literally had fans telling us, can you please ask Microsoft, why aren't they promoting Killer Instinct? When we had Ken Lobb on the show, we asked them. And they was like, oh, we're promoting it. You know, we got millions of people, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, you know what? Fine. If that's what you want to go with, no problem. I can respect that if that's what you're going with. At the end of the day, Killer Instinct, as an amazing franchise and as good as a fighting game as it is, it's still not looked at on the level of Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or even Blaze Blue, even Marvel vs. Capcom at this point. And that's not
when your fighting game is rated high, but it misses Evo the past 2 years because the fan base surrounding it is not there. That is a problem.
It's a problem.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that how that release setup is, because it came out day and date with the Xbox One, which did not have a good following initially and had a bunch of negative press. And the fact that it's not like it's a solid release, it's a steady update. Like, okay, here's a new character every once in a while, and here's some more content. It really was honestly more of an early access game. Let's be honest here. Like, it was very early access. It looked good.
You can say the same thing for Street Fighter V. And Street Fighter V is still one of the highest played, highest tournament used.
Of course, how many Street Fighter games have there been?
No, but I'm talking about Street Fighter V.
I know.
Street Fighter was a mess.
Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, no matter how bad those games are, they're still going to get that attention.
I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, in terms of they need to build the following for Killer Instinct. It was absent for a very long time. I get that. And they do. But part of that is the marketing. Part of that is, getting it in Evo, like B was saying. It's not going to be on Mortal Kombat's level overnight, but it has a following. Hey, I play it, and I'm not really a fighting game guy. So if they can push it hard going into next gen, get it out there near launch, that could do really well.
I agree. I don't know if they're going to come out with a Killer Instinct 2 or they'll create a new season or whatever it is. But whatever they do for the next generation with the next Killer Instinct, they definitely need to market this game. They need to market it as if it was a known franchise. They need to market it like it's the hottest fighting game ever made. They need to show everything that they can show it because it is truly a great looking and excellent fighting game. The net code for it is damn near perfect. It's one of the best fighting games on the market. And it's so hard to get this game recognized because you got the whole free-to-play thing and you got the way they did it, the way they started it. Next generation, this game needs to launch as a full-fledged title for $59.99. And anything they give you after that is free, like Sea of Thieves. Like, that's really what they need to do going forward when it comes to that. But anyway.
I think games are kind of moving towards that model. If you look how things are set up, yeah, there's a few games that are outliers, like Call of Duty, Battlefield, but like other games are moving towards that free DLC model.
They are.
There might be some content updates, but not many.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they are though is because people would normally just drop that game like hotcakes. You know what I mean? Like you play it for a couple of weeks, the next major multiplayer game's coming out, so I'll go play that instead. So they're not staying invested in those games because they feel like, for example, Call of Duty, you buy the game for $60 and then you got to buy the season pass for, $60 or $100 or whatever the case it is. You know what I mean? To still access that content. Look at what Destiny did. You know what I mean? We bought the game for $60. They released 2 DLC packs and then they released Forsaken and then there's more DLC after that. You know what I mean? How much more money do you want me to spend to stay invested in your game?
Right, exactly. And I'm loving Forsaken
for free content. Yeah.
But yeah, it's brutal. You can't do it. Not every game can do it. There's no way. Only a few of them are really capable of getting away with it at this point.
Right.
The free DLC model is by far the superior one. I mean, I remember Michael Pachter talked with 343 about this, and Halo 5 had its issues, but the player base was more consistent and less fractured after Halo 5 than it was for any of the other games, because all the maps were free. All that stuff,
Right.
everyone got it. And so that keeps people together, and you want the community as large as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah, that's why I think that you have a situation like with Black Ops 4, which just came out, because you have 3 multiplayer modes all being billed equally, as opposed to 2 or less. Like, because normally when you have the single player, which barely anybody plays, as they've confirmed numerous times. You have the multiplayer, which is the bread and butter, and then you would have the zombies mode, which would just a little bit of something. It was a good diversion to give you a little something. But especially with how zombies has kind of been absent lately, or it's been kind of really downplayed lately, you kept people playing multiplayer, and that was the bread and butter game mode. But then over time, now with this Black Ops 4, they got the blackout mode, they got the classic multiplayer, and they got zombies. And so you got 3 different ones. You have a completely fractured player base as it is. And then throw on top of it, when you add more DLC, each of those player bases are going to be fractured, except for maybe the blackout mode. So, free DLC is the future. That's just how it's got to be.
That's how it needs to be. You know, if you're going to kick out your 60, either you're going to pay a higher amount for the DLC, or the game starts out where it's at a free-to-play sort of model, but you're still paying $60 for it, and all the DLC is free going forward. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the only way that you can do it. I don't see how you can't.
And if that's the case, people have got to stop complaining about cosmetics. Like, because that's the biggest problem. Is like when people freak out about all the microtransactions and stuff. I don't have a problem with microtransactions as long if the content and stuff is free afterwards, like in terms of actual good content. I don't care about cosmetics.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier.
This is the problem everyone's had. Like, everyone complaining about loot boxes, but they weren't looking at the bigger picture. Like, oh, we don't like loot boxes. Loot boxes are bad. But they're not looking at the fact that the games that have these loot boxes are being free. Like, in terms of future content. Like Overwatch, every single character, every single map, everything has been free. No questions asked, except for the loot boxes. Yeah. People don't know loot boxes are bad.
Well, with that being said, we got to jump into this xCloud talk. I got to talk about this because, obviously a lot of people are feeling some type of way. Microsoft came out with Game Pass early in a couple years ago, or a year ago, or whatever it was, whenever it released. And, Game Pass has been a success ever since they started putting first-party titles on there. They've been getting really good deals with third-party. We've been seeing some really cool indie games hit there day one. It's really starting to take off, and it's become a real big, huge success. Now, PS Now has been out for some time. PS Now has a plethora of games, but it was streaming. It was streamed, and early on, the way they had the player, the pay model for it wasn't ideal. You were paying for time. You would pay for how long you played a particular game, or you can pay a certain amount and then get the game. Get a certain amount. I guess get access to all the games for a certain amount of time, or whatever, for the month, or whatever it is. Anyway, the point being is that PS Now has been doing this thing for a minute. Microsoft has started to enter the fray. They've said that they've cut latency down by up to 80%. And you only need, I believe, a 10 megabyte connection to play a game that probably runs graphically the same as the OG Xbox. And I got to say, man, if the latency is that low, and it really is sort of like almost like maybe 1 to 1.2 or something like that, or 0.7, however you want to describe it, if it's that close, man, that's really impressive considering the way they want you to play. And that's basically like eliminating the need for handhelds. This is what Microsoft is starting to step into this realm where you don't need a Vita-like device or a DS-like device. As long as you have a phone or a tablet, you just hook your controller up to it and start streaming the games you own directly from the cloud. That's the only thing from a particular server. Or if I would assume it would work in a way where you have your license for that particular game and you can stream it from the cloud, basically directly to your phone anywhere in the world. That is insane. That is an insane thing because you're not subscribing to some service. At least based on what I know so far, you're not subscribing to some service. Like you're not subscribing to the cloud service. It just sounds like it's going to be a feature that allows you to stream from, any hub in the world. And that's crazy to be able to play your games anywhere in the world at any time you want. And those things save in the cloud. The saves are in the cloud. The game is in the cloud. And when you come back home, you can basically continue from where you left off. You can play a game of 2K anytime. I can see it now. Be arguing with somebody in Chicago. What you say about me? What? Get the controller out right now. Everybody taking our iPhones or Androids, and you can play somebody right there in the middle of the street on a phone with a controller. That's crazy. That's insane. And I'm actually really impressed with it. But it hasn't been received well by other people that have been skeptical. What do you guys think? Do you think Microsoft really has something that's genius about to come out next generation, or do you think it's better to just wait and see?
Anchor, B, you guys want to go first, or?
I'll let you take this first, Sam. I'll jump in.
I don't get what people are upset about. It's an option. They explicitly described how it was an option. And it's going to be in addition to their home consoles. It's going to be in addition to their next-gen console, whatever that is. So why is pushing the video game market forward for more people into more markets a bad thing? They're not targeting the existing gamers. It's cool if we get the option out of it. It's cool if I'm going to be able to play Gears of War 4 or Doom or whatever on the go if I want to, but that's not who this is truly for. Who this is for is that 2 billion gamers that they're trying to get to. It's those millions upon millions upon millions of people who use a cell phone but will never play games on their PC and are never going to dream about dropping $500 on a console. But if they can be convinced, hey, here's Game Pass, it's $10 a month and you can play all these cool games, hundreds of cool games on it, and they subscribe, that's a win. So it's neat. Pushing the video game industry into more markets is never a bad thing. If they can get the tech in place, and they have a tall task ahead of them, make no mistake, but if they can get the tech in place and get it working smoothly, this is nothing but a positive for the industry.
Yeah, I don't really have any beef as far as the whole streaming thing. I know a lot of people are afraid that eventually one day there won't be any dedicated consoles and things like that, but like Sam said, this is more of just an option. We got to see what it is and what the exact features are going to be. Once it enters beta, I think at the end of this year, early next year. So, right now it's just a wait and see approach. We have to see if it's actually going to perform, like they say it will, and we have to see what exactly the streaming features are going to be. So. Until we get more information, I don't really understand why people are mad about it. It's just another option. Your home console will still be there. You'll still be able to, buy your games digitally or go to the store and pick up your favorite game. So right now, everybody just chill, man. We've still got a couple years before, streaming is the only option.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't recall this kind of concern when PlayStation was trying to push Gaikai. I just don't remember this concern.
I mean, no.
Did this happen? Please remind me. Did it?
I think the only reason why it wasn't that concern is because a lot of the games were just old games, so it gave you an option to access old games. Like this is telling you can play every game you have right now, and every future game coming out will give you the option to stream it. And that's where you hear the conversation of people being like, yo, I'm not ready for that. You know what I mean? Like I bought a new console like to play like my new games. I want to, play it on the big screen. I want to be able to have all those options. You know what I mean? Play
but give me that Switch
and HDR and things like that. You know what I mean? That's where I see the conversation. But you guys could be seeing it different. You know what I mean? In your timelines and things like that.
If it's an option though, if it's an option for people to stream to their phones, or like Thurrott and Windows Central leaked the rumored like $100, $150 streaming device that you can plug into your TV or whatever. If that's an option alongside the traditional Scarlet console, I don't see the issue. Okay, I don't see it. Streaming may eventually be the future, but we got to come a long way in network infrastructure before we can get there, okay? Not everyone lives in Singapore. Not everyone has incredible internet.
Right, but I think that's the point. I think what people are missing, the point about it is that it's not really meant for you to go out and say, this is the route that I want to go. You can if you want to, but it's not ideal. They still believe the ideal situation is to pick up an Xbox or play on a PC. As long as you're in their ecosystem, that's all that matters. People aren't comprehending that it doesn't matter whether you get an Xbox or you're playing on Windows 10. All Microsoft cares about is getting you into their ecosystem. The same way Apple cares about getting you into the ecosystem, and the same way Google cares about trying to get you into their ecosystem. It's all about trying to get people into what you have to spend money on what you're doing. That's why when it comes to sales and all that stuff like that, like, here's the thing that amazes me all the time. You ever look at when you get these sales numbers back and they're like, the quarter went by and Sony did like, $17 billion for the quarter, right? And then Microsoft did like $12 billion for the quarter. How is that possible when you have half the fan base that's not even, or maybe even more, that's nowhere near the amount of sales in both PlayStation, consoles sold, and attach rate, basically, at this point? Like, I literally just watched Capcom's financials come out where Sony gamers have literally purchased like 80 to 90% of everything that's come out of Capcom, and everybody else has got the scraps. But somehow at the end of every quarter, Microsoft is not that far behind. And it's because what people aren't understanding is that it's not about the consoles. We've been saying this for years and years and years. It is very difficult to make money on consoles. That's not what you make money on. Consoles is just a means to play games. You make money off of your games. You make money from the Xbox store. You make money from the sale of accessories. You make money from those subs for both Game Pass and Xbox Live. And you make money from the games that you sell. And you make money from all that DLC. Freaking Halo has so much money from DLC, they use that money to make a reward for their tournament. You know what I'm saying? They literally took $2 million out of all the sales from Halo and put it into the Halo tournament. And that was pretty crazy. So I think a lot of people get confused on the way Microsoft is doing these things. And if you're able to go from whatever you say, let's say they have 35 or 40 million people on Xbox right now, you can go from 40 million people who have Xbox Live accounts to 100 million people who have Xbox Live accounts or more, because now they have access to it. Like, for all the people who are on PlayStation or Nintendo who's like, I will never buy an Xbox, I hate Xbox, but swear that they would love to play Forza Horizon 4, because that's the one game that we all agree, no matter what system you're on, is probably pretty amazing. Everybody could play it if they had Game Pass and they had the streaming service on their phones right now. That's all I'm saying. So it's just one of those things where people have an opportunity to be a part of it, and that's what Microsoft is trying to get at. But the traditional way of playing, as far as, a benchmarking console that's super powerful, that's really going to be a part of your entertainment system and show you beautiful graphics, beautiful environments and stuff, that stuff is still going to be sold to us. And that's probably going to be what the next Xbox is going to be. So, I think that's what people are missing out of that whole streaming thing, and why people shouldn't get so worried about it. At the end of the day, it's just an option.
So you don't think that this is going to be a separate service? You think this is more of like a remote place type thing, where like, if you purchase the game, that's the game that you have access to stream?
I do. I think it'll be, you can access it digitally if you buy a game digitally, and they're going to use that to push digital games to cut out GameStop. Mm-hmm. Or if you're subscribed to Game Pass, you can play any Game Pass titles. Right. Or obviously the free games, gold, that type of thing. Anything digital that you already have access to, you'll be able to stream. That's how they'll do it.
You'll basically get that license. It'll be in the cloud, and you could just stream that game from anywhere without even purchasing the box. But the quality of the stream is not going to be as high. That's the main difference. So like, you know, if they always talk about like, I think what you would get is if you picked up a game, let's say for example, you wanted to play Forza Horizon 4. We all know Forza Horizon 4 is a gorgeous game when you play it on the Xbox One X. It still looks pretty good on the OG Xbox. I don't know if the quality will be the same if you played it on a phone. It may be 720p. The resolution may be lower. We don't know. However, they're saying that the fidelity of the game doesn't change. So you'll still have that same amount of speed. You won't feel the latency as much. You won't feel like you're behind based on the work that they've been doing. So that's really where the quality changes. I think on the flip side of that, when you have the streaming console, that allows you to sort of keep that quality. But still, I think there's going to be some type of degradation when it comes to that because you're still streaming. But then if you just want the box, download to your platform, your console, and just play it the way it's supposed to be played. I think that's what they're looking at. They just give you way more options to play if you want to play. And how you want to play is up to you. And where you want to play is up to you. And I think that's great. That's absolutely great, honestly. Anything else?
I was just going to say, did you guys read the interview that with Wired? They had an exclusive interview with Kareem Chowdhury, who's the head of Microsoft's cloud gaming studio.
No.
Oh, you read it when you get a chance. It talks a lot about how they're trying to challenge the technical issues here and how they're going to be able to use a Bluetooth synced controller, which is one of the reasons they added Bluetooth, but they're also going to be adding in touch controls for all games, and they want to make sure the touch controls work. It's just some interesting quality of life stuff talking about their process.
Right.
I would recommend reading it.
Right. I definitely check that out. So listen, man, Forza Horizon 4 just got 2 million players in a week. I think that's excellent. I could see that jumping up even higher. I mean, the game was only out for a few days. And you report on that, Sam. They did exceedingly well over their last iteration and release.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's definitely way faster than Forza Horizon 3.
And that's great, man. I'm happy for those guys at Playground. Again, I don't know if they're working on the next Fable. We assume they are based on all the talk that we heard from ex-Lionhead devs and stuff like that. Maybe they got it started. Maybe they handed it off to a different studio. Maybe they're working on it. I recently watched a guy named, what's his name? I want to say Oren Grant, who just left Playground and went to the new studio. And he stated that they are working on an action RPG. So I guess you guys would consider Fable an action RPG?
Yeah, Fable would be more action. When I think of like a tactical RPG, I think of CRPGs or Dragon Age or things like that.
Right. So he said he's going over there to the new studio to work on the action RPG, and that's great. That's great. We know that they're working on one, their big AAA open world action RPG, and I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what it is. Maybe they're working on something. I'll be honest with you, it would be amazing if they worked on an open world RPG where you can drive cars. Like cars were a part of the world. Here's the thing. You already work in the Fable, the Forza universe, right? Not saying that they shouldn't do Fable. I think they should do Fable, absolutely. But I'm just saying it would be pretty cool if they made an RPG where you use vehicles as transportation, obviously, to get around. Just like any game like Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, there's a car in the game. But with their talent, you could really have an effect on the game and the way you select your vehicles or which vehicles is right for what jobs, little things like that. I think would be pretty cool if they ever decided to go that route. But at the end of the day, if they are working on Fable, that's great. I would love to see what this game turns out to be. I know they're going to use that Forza tech when it comes to like the skybox and the changing of the seasons. It is just going to be glorious. I can't wait to see what type of work they put in. I mean, the amount of people that they hired for this new studio and the people that they brought in from Metal Gear to Grand Theft Auto to, Rocksteady and Rockstar, like it's just amazing, amazing talent over there at that studio. I couldn't imagine. But with that being said, Forza, man, is doing great. Forza 4, I would love to hear the numbers on this game, but I think players are what's most important because it lets you know how many people's out there playing, man. And they obviously be doing really well because it's like one of the top games on Mixer. Now it's Call of Duty.
I think you got to hold off because on the whole thing on Mixer, currently they have this thing that if you stream it and if you watch Forza Horizon on Mixer, you get influence. So there's a bunch of people with just have like an account open watching it, like they're not even doing anything. They're just sitting at the title screen to get influence. Like it's I would not give it too much praise on the Mixer side because they put away in the game for you to exploit that.
Is it wrong if I say I feel like that's something that Microsoft would do? like I feel like, you know what? I believe you, Anchor. I do. I believe that is something that's actually happening with Mixer right now. But regardless, man, they're doing good. Anchor, how's that Call of Duty? I saw that you reneged on your tweet when you was like you're done with Call of Duty, then turned around and I saw you.
I got on the specialist thing because I heard this was the story mode, and I wanted to see just how skimpy this story was. Like it's maybe 30 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Like that's pretty short.
That's bad.
Like, it's basically serves as a way of trying to tie together Black Ops 2 to Black Ops 3, and which because they almost had no connection whatsoever, other than the name, and they basically just narrow this down to, the multiplayer is a simulation with all the specialists in Black Ops 3. But before they were altered. That's it. That's the only backstory. Like, you can look at, like, there's, like, 30-second videos for each operative. And some of them are interesting, and most of them tell you nothing. Like, there's one character called Ajax. Literally, the only thing they show is that he was part of a street gang, then said, I don't want to hurt people anymore. That's it.
So he decided to join the Call of Duty team and just destroy everyone? Like,
yes.
That's ridiculous. All right. We got to get out of that conversation. Look, Call of Duty, I don't know what's going on, but it's become a phenomenon. Everybody's buying this game. People are playing it. They're loving it. I didn't think it was going to be successful without a single-player game. It's disappointing because Titanfall, you gotta put some respect on Titanfall's name. Can we put some respect on Titanfall's name? Because Titanfall was the first game to really come out and not have, I won't say the first game, but they were really one of the early games to come out and not have a multiplayer, not have a single-player game for a shooter and just be a straight multiplayer title. You know what I'm saying? And at least on consoles. I know you had like games like CSGO and a few PC games where it's just strictly multiplayer, but for the most part, Titanfall was different. A lot of people didn't think it was going to be a successful game. And obviously it didn't live up to the hype, but it was great. It was a phenomenal game when it came out. It just was short on content. It took a long time for the content to come out to keep it going, but when it did, it was great. For Titanfall 2 came out. Titanfall 2's campaign, I think, might be one of the best campaigns I played this entire generation. Like, it's really that good. I was truly blown away. I was surprised, actually, at how good of a campaign that the guys did over at Respawn. That was a great campaign. But the multiplayer I couldn't get into. I preferred the first game for the multiplayer. But I don't know, man, if this is the future of multiplayer games where, you're just going to drop multiplayer and no single-player experiences anymore, because a lot of people aren't playing it. I wouldn't mind a Battlefield that's like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me personally, that's how I used to play COD. I didn't really care for the single-player story. I just wanted to play the multiplayer. That's why I really bought it for. So, as long as these games have a lot of content and they got a lot of things and ways to play within a game that makes it worth the 60, then sure, pick it up. But I don't know. Do you feel like it's worth 60, Anchor?
No. No. I'm just going to say, like, this, and I will say this again, go buy Assassin's Creed Odyssey, dude. Like, just really. Like, it is just a far superior game. Like, the only reason I said I was going to get Assassin's Creed Odyssey was because they had Socrates in it, and then I even backtracked on that, and the only reason I have it now is because Mike P. The Truth got it, and we're game sharing, and this is the Greek RPG I didn't know I needed. It is so good. It is Like, I genuinely believe that if this game came out last year and Origins didn't exist, people will be praising this as the best RPG they have played on the level, if not better than Witcher 3. Like, people would be flipping out about it. Because then the wait for 2 years would have been justified. Even more so. And I liked Origins. I liked Origins a lot. But this is by far way better than Origins.
I'll say this. Listening to you talk about Origins and Odyssey and seeing other people's reactions to both of those games, Origins got a positive reception, but I'm really tempted to get Odyssey. I really am. It sounds like the actual refreshing that the series needed, as opposed to Origins.
Origins was the refreshing that it needed. I treat Assassin's Creed like I treat Madden. I got to get it like every 2 or 3 years.
No, dude.
I'm not getting
this time. This time, you should have skipped Origins.
I could pass on Origins.
I know. But this time, it is justified. Like, this is.
I don't understand what's so
existed.
What's the big difference between Origins and Odyssey?
All right, so you know how in Origins, it felt like a very disjointed game.
No, I didn't have that feeling.
No. All right. Like, okay, you would switch between you and your wife would only do naval combat missions, and you're like, why is naval combat even in this game?
Mm-hmm.
This one actually has naval combat as a central part of the game. You sail in the Aegean Sea from island to island, and you're making it's an Odyssey. It's actually really good. You're like the supposed hand of Zeus, doing your deal, fulfilling the prophecy, and then all this, like, you're fighting off a cult, you're doing all this crazy stuff, you're fighting mythological beasts. Like, it's really dope.
I'm not impressed.
Dude, it is by far so much fun. Like, and I love how they do the faction system in this game. So this is a period in time where Sparta and Athens are in a civil war, and this is probably the most nuanced approach to a faction combat I have seen in the game, because you don't pledge allegiance to either side. You could play both sides. You could just say, like for me, I decided I'm with Sparta, and so when I go to an area that's dominated by Sparta, I leave them alone. But if I find an Athenian spot, I'm going to take that over. I'm going to weaken them and help Sparta take over. You can choose to do it if you want, or you don't have to. It's all up to you. You could switch randomly. It's fine. It's up to you. You don't have to make a pledge. You don't have to say, I'm going to do this, and we're just going to stick to that forever. You could just be crazy. I'm going to kill everybody. Then on top of that, the mercenary system, you know, in the Philiptike, I can't remember what they called it in Origins. You know how, like, you'd have people come after you every so often if you were causing enough trouble? This one, they changed it. So it's like it's a meta game within a meta game where you attract people's attention. When you're causing trouble, you attract attention. And so let's say you get like a 2-star equivalent. You'll have people within, like, okay, let's say I'm level 14 right now. I'll have, if I cause enough attention, people who are like level 15, level 13, and maybe level 16 might come after me with a 2-star. But then the more and more chaos I cause, the higher and higher that level is going to go, that people are going to come after me for. And not just that, you can actually run into these people and hunt them down systematically to get specific gear. In even higher level people, you can run into people who are like level 48 when you're level 14. And they treat you like you're a joke. They like brush you off, like, get away from me. It's so much fun. And this is not even like a focus of the game. This is just a side thing. This is just like an afterthought they threw into the game. It is an absolute blast. This game is well developed. They have done so well with this game. Like, honestly, I would say now, like, if you're jumping in, you haven't played Origins, skip Origins. Just go straight to Odyssey.
What's better, Odyssey or Fallout 4? You really breathing on this? Yo, we got to move on, man. You out here, you got people leaving the stream. Listen, Man, ain't nobody think about no damn Odyssey. I'm gonna pick that up when it hit $40, $29.99 games for gold, man. I'm not doing it. I played what's the name last year, bro. I will pick it up next. I'll pick it up sometime when it hits games with gold, deals with gold, whatever it is. I can't do it. I can't do Assassin's Creed 2 years in a row. It's just too much. Very quickly, you guys got the new update?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. What about the avatars? What do you think of those? I think they're pretty cool.
I've had the avatars, dude.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. I don't get nothing no more. I don't know what happened to my Xbox. I'm not a part of the preview program or something. I got to figure it out. Seems like I'm getting everything really, really late. That's just weird to me, but it is what it is.
It's neat. It's overdue. It is what it is. That's the attitude I take. I don't particularly care for it. Mm-hmm. Call me when they bring back 1 versus 100.
Why is you know what's crazy about 1 versus 100? It was a cool game. It was a cool concept. But there were so many people that would play that game. It was rare that you would ever actually be a participant in it. You know what I'm saying? Like as like a real like the person that's there, and then everybody would vote against you or with you, and you would have to get the answer. And like, what were the rewards for that game? When I think about it, like what made 1 versus 100 so special? Honestly,
the concept. The concept. That's all it was, and it would be perfect with the new avatars. It really would. I hope they bring it back.
That game would not do. It wouldn't do well in today's generation. I don't think it would do well in today's generation. So I don't know, but if it comes back, more power to Microsoft. I still want Movie Party. If they bring back 1 versus 100 before they bring back Movie Party, Phil gonna hear from me. Dead ass. I'll be so mad right now. I've been begging for Movie Party forever. Y'all gonna bring back 1 versus 100? Ain't nobody getting picked. Don't even know if that's a real person up there. Damn scam. Anyway,
dude, I just want them to have 1 versus 100, so you'll shut up about this. Like that's what I want. Like, just get this over with, and we're gonna watch really terrible movies together too.
Yes, bring that back. I don't mind that. I would not mind that. I would love to do
dude,
that.
I would kill to watch like Christie with you.
What?
And like this, all right. So this is a really dumb.
No, we don't have
movie.
time. We don't have time.
This is short. This is short. This is short. No, we do have time. We always have time for a bad horror movie plot.
Oh,
this is the short version of it. Is it's just this girl who stays over for like Thanksgiving break. It stays at like this like Northeast elitist school, like alone in her dorm. Like the only person there is a security guard, one singular security guard over Thanksgiving break. All it is these people break onto campus and try to kill her. It is so dumb. But I watched it at the perfect time because I was doing the same exact thing. I was staying in my dorm over Thanksgiving break alone. And so I was like, man, what would happen if people actually did try to break into my dorm?
First of all, ain't nobody coming for your ass. Who coming for you, Anchor? Who is coming to kill you, Anchor?
Oh, there's plenty of fanboys who hate
me. It's
a
reason why the women are the ones that's always getting killed. Nobody's coming for dudes, bro. Like, come on, son. What are you doing right now? Anyway, okay. Crackdown 3 got delayed. Possibly got delayed. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think that's the right deal. It's the right choice. We said it should be moved completely out of the month, but I guess maybe a week forward or a week back works as well. What do you guys think?
Just moving it off the 22nd is fine. I'm not going to hold that against them because when they came out with that, I'm sure they couldn't have predicted that everybody else also was moving off the 22nd. So I'll give them a pass on that one as long as it's just a couple of weeks up or a couple of weeks down.
I feel like everybody who put their stuff on the 22nd trolled Microsoft. It just was like, yo, we're going to make sure Crackdown is like the worst selling game Microsoft ever made. Let's put all our games on the 22nd at the same time. It's just
you know what they should do? They should don't move it in April. Move it up.
No,
like say January.
No.
Throw it out there.
Nah, April. Yeah,
available now.
What if they're dropping Ori in April though? That's the thing.
What's that?
I said, but what if they're dropping Ori in April?
Ori.
Drop Ori in
April. Yeah, you can drop it.
Okay, so you'd be thinking they could get away with doing both of them then in April?
Yeah, I think it serves two different audiences anyway.
Okay, all right. Maybe one like within the first couple of days, one at the very end of the month. Okay, all right. I'm just thinking because they got both Ori and Battletoads, and those are going to serve similar audiences in terms of the type of game they are. So they need to space those out. Those are both coming out next year. So I'm thinking one will be in the first half of the year, one in the second half.
I think one will be pretty close to E3 or right after. I think Battletoads is probably a summer game.
Like August, maybe, or late July, something like that.
Yeah,
that works. That could work.
We'll see. We will definitely see. Either way, the smart move is to move it because that game was going to be dead on arrival. And I'm glad that they did. I'm glad Phil listened to people. And I truly hope this game looks different. I truly hope they've spent all this time fixing the textures, fixing the colors, because this game was so bland when I played it at E3. You know, I just looked at it from the perspective that if you liked Crackdown, this was going to be your type of game. I was not as overly impressed with it, though I did like what I played because it was set up for me at, you know, that way. But overall, I did not like what I played. And until they actually change it and really sort of make the game something where it's like you're playing a mission-based game and not just running around blowing stuff up to get attention, because that's how I feel what the game is. I don't know if I can pick it up. So we'll see the changes that's made when it comes around. All right. So before we head on out of here, just finally, man, just one last little rehash of Obsidian. We're not 100% confirmed. It's not 100% confirmed yet. Obviously, XO18 is coming up. I think this is going to be the big thing that they announce at XO18. I think they may show Gears of War 5 gameplay. It's a possibility because that game's coming out next year. So I'm sure they would have some sort of gameplay demo ready to go at the end of by the end of this year, which is pretty cool. And Phil was in Japan, and he's out there doing some stuff. Now, there's speculation, and I do want to put an emphasis on speculation, that he may be trying to get some type of Japanese studio. I don't know if that's possible. I'll be honest.
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe they're trying to get a new Japanese studio.
Here's a more likely scenario. Would it impress you if Microsoft announced a new first-party studio in Japan?
I mean,
it would impress me. For me, it would be super impressive just because I've long awaited Japanese games to return in a major way to Xbox. I think, Phil has done a great job in getting a lot of Japanese games that wouldn't normally be on Xbox now, like Dragon Ball Z and things like that. They're bringing back the Tales series. It's coming back to Xbox. There's rumors that Yakuza could possibly come over to Xbox. So right. if they got something, as in a first party with Japanese influence, I'd be all over that.
That would be big. That would be huge. I mean, I'm just processing how it could happen. That's why I hesitated in my response. Yeah. I'm all for it. It would be, I'll tell you this, that's probably the strongest type of statement they could make at this point. After everything else that they've done this year, that would be something that would catch people off guard. No question about it. Because I don't think anyone's actually realistically expecting it to happen. But that would be a statement, especially, and I'm sorry here, but Nintendo has dedicated JRPG makers with Monolith Software. If Microsoft had a dedicated JRPG studio, but Sony didn't, that would be very interesting in optics, to say the absolute least. So, we'll see. I'm not expecting something like that to happen, but we'll see. Gal?
I think we might have lost him for a second.
I think we lost him for a second. Okay.
Good.
Hey, I'm
now
back.
We can talk about things that matter.
Nobody want to hear your sad tales of being alone in your dorm, Anchorman.
It was a different time, man.
Anyway, I obviously, if Microsoft is working on something with first party, and it has to do with Japan, that would be a big deal. That would be obviously really impressive. It's the one thing that we've been clamoring for a long time, to really bring that diversity that they've been missing. I don't know if it's 100% true. I don't know what's going to happen when it comes to that. Phil could just be out there checking out some maybe exclusives that he has, or some trying to bring over more third parties. Maybe Final Fantasy 14 pops up at XO18. Maybe an announcement for Yakuza games pops up. Maybe we get Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 bundle on the Xbox for once. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But whatever he's doing, more power to Phil Spencer, and I'm excited about all the work that these guys have been doing over the last couple of months. Obviously, it's disappointing that the generation went the way that it went. I think Microsoft had a solid generation, not the best, but big things in store for next gen, which is right around the corner, about 2 years away. So we'll see what happens at XO18. Hopefully, Obsidian is a new first-party studio. Microsoft has some more Japanese things coming up for us to get excited about. And, if Microsoft can stay on the right path like they've been doing and allow these studios to do the things that they want to do and not control them like the old regimes used to do, they will be okay going forward because they have the technology and they have the money to really push the industry forward. And that's great for Xbox and for Xbox gamers. So that's it, man. That's going to be it for tonight's show. I want to thank everybody for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. Go ahead and leave any questions in the chat for the Q&A. We'll try to knock out as many as we can in a reasonable time. And we will see you guys next week. Make sure you tune in tomorrow to the Iron Lord podcast with Lord Cognito and team. Mondays with Anchorman V and the Multiverse team. And, of course, Wednesdays, I believe, with Fame Entertainment and the 2XP team, as those guys get the chance to talk about everything when it comes to video games and the industry. And, of course, we are the premier podcast for Xbox Tick Podcast, the original OG podcast here on the channel. And again, very grateful and thankful to everybody who stopped out. We're like one of the few places where we actually have a network of shows. We're not just one individual channel or one individual show. We have a network of shows because we try to cater to everybody's needs and wants and listens. And I think that's really awesome. And we try to stay away from the nonsense and just talk real content and have real interviews and real people. So make sure you share that with everybody. Let them know the best place to get news, info, and to talk about gaming is here over at the Inner Circle Network. Any last words, guys? Anything on your mind?
No, not really.
Not really, except I gotta say this, guys. It's nice to actually be excited for something regarding Xbox that isn't E3. That's such a nice change of pace. It's not even funny.
That is really true.
Isn't. And assuming Obsidian goes through, which I feel like it will. I really do feel like it will at this point. They'll have grown by 7 studios this year, including Playground's second team, because that's a fully second build and all that. That's not nothing. That's one of the biggest moves of growth I've ever seen in the industry. Absolutely. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what next year brings as well. Absolutely.
So that's going to be it for tonight's show. I'm your host, K1S Kalel, with Anchorman V, B Money 101, and Direwolf 484. And we're off this planet. You guys have a great night. Peace. All right. Hey, I want to thank everybody for stopping out and hanging out with us tonight. This is the Q&A portion of the show. It is kind of late. It's actually the next day as of right now. So we're going to try to knock out a few questions. If you have any questions, put a question mark behind it. We'll do our best to answer. When the questions stop flowing, the show will end. I want to give a shout out to everybody who hung out with us tonight. iDizzy81, TF God, Mike D, Andrew Wilkins, UA. Hey, I like that UA. Who else did I miss? I'm missing a few people. The Classified Xbox Fan, thank you for stopping out. 1977 War Machine, thank you for stopping out as well. Captain DNA Donut, thank you for stopping out, brother. Appreciate you for hanging out with us tonight. J Dub, what up, Jay? Thanks for stopping out, bro. Appreciate the support. Edge Excel, thank you as well for stopping out. Truly appreciate you for hanging out with the team tonight. And I think that's it. Oh, and group. Shout out to the DXM DRG group from DX Expansion. Shout out to DX out there. You guys are awesome as always. I think that's it. C Trigger 3, thank you for stopping out. Gaming Addict, thank you for stopping out as well, my brother. And that's it. All right, so let's see some of these questions and see what we got. So, first question up. Let's see here. Andrew Wilkins. No, that's not it. Question for Sam and B. Whose settlement do I nuke first in Fallout 76? Anchors or cows?
You gotta go after Anchor, man. He gonna have the whole squad over there. The building's gonna be like a mansion. You gotta take Angry Man out, man.
I don't know. This is the tough one because he's gonna have the best loot. Anchor will have the best loot. There's no question. But this is Anchor we're talking about. This man lives and breathes Fallout. You come after him, he's coming after you with a vengeance. He will eradicate you.
I've already played Fallout 76, by the way.
And it's trash, ain't it?
I cannot say, but I can say I've played it.
I saw some gameplay. It looks trash. It looks bad.
I've played it.
Yeah, you hear his enthusiasm. You see how depressed he is. He's like, I played it. It's
as a part of the NDA that we had to sign, I cannot show affection one way or another.
Yeah, it's trash. It's trash. Yeah. Well, I guess I won't be buying that game. You guys, good luck, have fun. You won't nuke me. I won't even be there. So just move on from that. Let's see. What else do we have here? TF God asks, you think Phil would dare go to Japan to purchase from Soft or Platinum? Think Yakuza or Dragon Quest will go to Xbox? Yakuza, I can see going to Xbox. Dragon Quest on Xbox that's a real Japanese game. Yakuza is like Shenmue, basically. It's actually the Shenmue successor, the spiritual successor.
I think that is a high possibility of happening. It depends on, if Sony values that and if they want to throw some money at it, to keep it over there. Because Sega did come out, I think today or a couple days ago and said that they, their success is based on the Yakuza franchise, being a worldwide success. So it's possible, it comes over to Xbox.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Yakuza has a very high chance. In terms of Phil buying a studio, I doubt it. I'll admit it would be hilarious. Like, that would be hilarious to watch for sure. But
I tell you right now, the way they're buying studios, I would not be shocked if they bought Miss Walker. That's the only studio I would say I would not, because they make so many small games because they're afraid of making big games. Because they just never had the budgets to invest in a big title doesn't work for them. So having these little small indie type games, the what's it called? The Frontier game, the Bravery Frontier or whatever it's called, Bravery Default, whatever it's called. I don't know what's called. I can't remember. But the little games that they make, those are cool games. That's within budget. Imagine Miss Walker returning home to Microsoft. I don't even think people understand, if it wasn't for Microsoft, Miss Walker wouldn't even exist. That's the crazy thing about it. It was Xbox's money that allowed that studio to get off the ground and become what it is today. And if maybe Phil can talk to them and get them back on board, I would not be shocked if Miss Walker showed up at XO18 as a first-party studio, and that would be absolutely huge for Xbox. Absolutely huge. Other than that, all I can see is Phil maybe announcing some more third-party games that are multi-plat coming to Xbox. That's at the most is probably what I could expect. Let's see here. Mike D says, good to listen to your podcast, Kellel. I hope your haircut isn't because you came into contact with kryptonite and it fell out. Nah, man. Oh. Nah, it's not because of that. It's just
he's tearing his hair out because of those kids. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, that and the wife. You know what I'm saying? I was out here looking like the first man for a little while, so I just had to cut everything off and just shave it off, just get it off the top of my head, and one of those type of things. So now that that's done, I could probably not hear her nagging in my ear about looking like a crazy person. Andrew Wilkins says, why are you Xbox fans excited for Microsoft acquiring Obsidian, where Microsoft caused them to fire most of their staff by canceling the game they were making for them last gen? Well, listen, everybody...
You gonna hold on to things from last gen?
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Move on.
Not only that, but even Obsidian, I got to interject here, has admitted, or members of Obsidian that spoke to Jason Schreier in his book said that there were faults on both sides. It was a bad situation all around, and it was everybody's fault. And I can 100% believe that they've patched relationships up since.
There's also new leadership and a new regime in place. Not only do you have a new person running Xbox and first party, you have a new person running Microsoft altogether. And I read a book recently where they talked about when Satya Nadella first came over. The first thing he did was try to change the culture of Microsoft, and he gave everybody, all the executives in his in his circle, a book that talked about how to communicate in a non-violent type way, like a non-threatening way. Because when they were ran by oh my God, by what's his name that runs the basketball team now?
You talking about Steve Ballmer?
Yeah, Ballmer. When they were ran by Ballmer, they were really cruel and hard. You know what I'm saying? They had a crazy killer instinct, and a lot of the things they would do to each other were savage. But they've taken a different approach, and you can see it in the way they talk about Xbox, the way they want to try to reach out to all these different people, having Phil in charge. Phil is the nicest guy you can possibly ever meet. Phil doesn't curse, you know, and not to say that because you don't curse, it makes you a good person, but it takes an individual to truly not want to curse. You understand what I'm saying? To really think about the words that they choose and then the way that they speak. And I think that's really important. And when you look at it from that perspective, you look at the moves that Phil has done, the way he's congratulated his competition, the way he's only ever talked about what he wants to do for Xbox and gaming as a whole, not just Xbox, but the industry as a whole, and trying to push the industry forward. It's really important. It shows you what they've been doing. So the culture has changed. And I think Obsidian recognizes that. And that's why this whole situation is working out the way it's working out. And I think that's why Microsoft is able to get studios like, you know, Ninja Theory and sign Playground and stuff. I think if it was the old regime, there's no way they signed with Don Matrick. There's no way they signed with Don Matrick. I just truly believe that. Let's see here. Mike DX. Did I just lose that? I did just lose that. Mike DX, while xCloud is a win for Microsoft, could you see some danger that xCloud allows hardcore gamers to buy a PS5 and just occasionally sign up to xCloud to play Xbox exclusives? I think that's happening now with Game Pass. Honestly, I know a lot of people abandoned their Xboxes and bought PlayStations or went full PC. I think for Microsoft, there's too much stock in consoles. We put too much stock in consoles. We absolutely do. Consoles is a means to play games. That's all it is. It's a means for you to use their software and be a part of their ecosystem. If you can be a part of their ecosystem without the box, and you know, whether it's on your PC or if you're not a hardcore guy and you don't want the flashiness of a console or a PC, but you just want to play a few games that you like, then you can do the streaming box for cheap or get it on your phone or your tablet or whatever and stream it that way. I think for Microsoft now, at this point, everything is changing. The way we see movies is changing. The way we listen to music is changing. And now the way we consume games will change as well. But I think the great thing about gaming is that there's an option. And even with movies, there's still options. There's still Blu-rays you can go out and buy day one and date. You know, 4K Blu-rays, Ultra HD Blu-rays you can get. You don't have individual stores anymore like we used to, but those DVDs and stuff you can still buy. And I think the same thing with gaming. It will be that way, but digital is the future, and that's where Microsoft is headed. Okay. Dizzy said I announced Bravely Default's title right. R2C25 asks, what type of games you think Obsidian might work on if they join Microsoft Studios? I bet Anchorman would get aroused by something that resembles Fallout New Vegas.
Honestly, for them, they just have a good pedigree to work with. I don't know. Honestly, if Playground wasn't already unconfirmed working on Fable, I'd give them Fable, but it's kind of late on that front.
I don't know, man. We don't know.
So we don't know for certain. We don't know for certain, but yeah, but I'd probably give them Fable to reinvigorate that entire franchise.
Yes, I would agree with Anchorman. I would, if if there is a way to hand them off Fable, I would give Obsidian Fable, and I would let Playground do whatever they wanted to, because I think they're
Let them
going to
focus.
be they're going to be the darling of Microsoft Studios. Like, they have already proven their worth with what they've done with the Horizon franchise, and I think if you let them open up the reins and let them do whatever they want, they're gonna shock some people.
Can I ask a serious question to you, B, and pretty much everybody else too? It's a real serious question.
Sure.
How come everybody is giving Playground so much free reign and free goodwill to make franchises that are not racing Forza games? Like, have they worked on anything other than Forza Horizon we could point at and say, yeah, they'd be good at that?
Because they have shown extreme efficiency, because there's a lot of overlap between the two studios, and the two studios are going to be working together, and because they've hired some of the top talent in the industry. They hired people from Ninja Theory back before Ninja Theory joined Microsoft. They've got people, they convinced people to leave Kojima Productions before Death Stranding was done.
I don't think they
got
needed much convincing to leave Kojima Productions.
Well, those cushy paychecks in the sushi bar, I don't know, but they got people from Naughty Dog and multiple devs from Naughty Dog and Sony Santa Monica, BioWare. I mean, this is serious talent they're bringing in. And they're not even telling people, and they talked about this in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, they're not even telling people what they're working on when they get hired. So they have an incredible pitch to be able to bring this kind of talent in without even letting them know what game it is they're working on.
And you have to look at their steady improvement of what they've done with Horizon. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They started at the end of the gen on 360 with the first iteration, and it's constantly improved. And you got to think what they've done, in those 2-year gaps is for some developers. So you got to tip your hat to them. And like I said, if you give them free reign and let them kind of do what they want to do, I think they could be super special, man.
They're one of the crown jewels right now. But here's the thing.
I'm all up for giving them free reign. Let me don't get that wrong, because I think everybody should have a chance to work on something different. As B and I have been the champions of, let everybody work on something different. Other than that, though, my thing is like, okay, I have not seen them prove themselves at any other type of thing, but I hear constant praise, like they would make such a good RPG. They would make such a good isometric platformer. It's like anything that would come up, like they always get such utmost praise, and I'm like, I've only ever seen them do racing games.
Because they are one of the highest rated studios of this generation. Phil said as much when they made the announcement of the acquisition at E3. What other racing
what's he going to say?
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute here. What other studio has put out a racing game at a 91 Metacritic, then 2 years later puts out another one that tops it in quality with both the fans and the critics? What other studio? Exactly.
Who did Need for Speed?
Need for
Wanted. What was
Hey, Anchor man, you're reaching, man.
You're reaching. You're seriously reaching. They have earned. Here's what I think we're coming from, dude. They've earned the opportunity. They've earned the goodwill, and they have an incredible pitch. They evidently have incredible studio culture that somehow gets this done without crunch, which is ridiculous, but there you go. So I feel like they've earned it. They have earned the ability to do this.
I just look at their overall potential, and I just compare it a lot to what Killzone, what Guerrilla did with Killzone. I mean, they put out 4 Killzone games. This is the 4th Horizon game, so it kind of matches up pretty similar. And people never really held Guerrilla into high regard. I mean, their games always look beautiful. I mean, the multiplayer was okay. Their storytelling and all that stuff, none of that was like on par with any other, major game or whatever. But they were given an opportunity, and I mean, they struck the iron hot, and Horizon Zero Dawn was pretty successful for them. And I think whatever Playground is working on can be even bigger and better than what,
Right.
What Horizon was, you know what I mean, for Guerrilla. So, you know, we got to wait and see exactly what it is. I mean, it'll be cool if it's Fable, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I think that, you know, they'll do a great job if it's Fable, but I think if it's something, you know what I mean, that they want to do, and they really put their heart and soul into it, it could be something really special, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's try to run through one or two more questions and then we'll shut it down for the night. C Trigger 3 says, what is your opinion of gamers of color continued support of the Japanese game market and developers when on the rare occasion they put us in a game and it is as a racist character? Here's my thing about developers and representation of people in certain games and the caricatures and stereotypes of people. It's tough when you're trying to, and I don't want to make excuses for anybody. Absolutely, I don't want to make excuses for anybody. I think that it's tough when someone from a different culture tries to make a character to represent a particular person and sort of goes on what they see on TV or what they've heard. Me personally, I can't think of any Japanese games that I've played where they've put a character in a game. What is that?
What the?
What was that?
My bad. But my boy Bud Crawford just knocked this man out. Watching the boxing match. Shout out to my dog King. We called it earlier.
The way he said that,
flatline this man.
The way he said that, I thought there was a game that had a racist cat. I was like, what game?
I'm just casually browsing my phone here, and then B gives me
right. Anyway, that was funny, but no. So basically, what happened was, what happens is, I think what I'm off my thought now. I think what it is that you have people who sort of go off these tropes about certain people, and then they make the characters. And is it cool? Nah, it's not cool. I can't think of any games that I've played that have had characters of color and have made them tropes of that. Anime is a different story. Trust me. There's a ton of anime where you've had characters that are, you know, stereotypical or racist. But then you have some people that are true artists and genuinely respect different people in different cultures. And what I say is that if people of color who play video games feel like they aren't represented right, they should aspire to get in the industry and represent themselves the way that they feel they should be. And I know that's not an easy thing to do, but the only way to prove people wrong about the tropes and the racist things that they see about different cultures is to do it yourself. And I think that's really important for anybody who feels disenfranchised by any game, any book, any story that makes you feel less than what you are, and sort of puts a stereotype on you. So the Japanese culture is so far from other, at least Western cultures, that I do understand some of those things. But for me personally, I haven't seen any of those things. But if you do know some games, let me know. I would definitely check those out and have a different opinion next week. But as of right now, for me, mostly I just see little things in anime like Killer and Dragon Ball Z. That was my most, if you've ever seen Killer in Dragon Ball Z, when he first got introduced, it was probably one of the most racist things I have ever seen. And I love Akira Toriyama. So you knew for me, I was like, this is the most disappointing thing I've seen from an anime in a long time. Killer was a black boxer who joined the Dragon Ball tournament during the Cell. Was it the Cell game? Not the Cell games, but it was around the Cell saga, I think it was, or either the Majin Buu saga when they had the tournament. No, it was the Majin Buu saga when they had the tournament. And Killer only said one word, and it was Killer. And he had these big pink lips, and it was so racist. I just remember watching it, and every word he said was killer, 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 killer. I was like, why? Why would they do this? Like, why would you put this character in the anime of all characters? The only black character I've ever seen in Dragon Ball Z, you make him a complete moron and make him sound this way. It was a travesty, but it is what it is, man. It's like that wasn't made for America. That was made for for Japan, and it was brought over to the States. So it's just one of those things, man. Culture differences. It's the only thing I can say about it. It's definitely tough. It definitely is tough sometimes. All right, let's try to knock out one more question, and then we'll head on out. Let me see if I can find a pretty good one we can all answer. Or somebody who we haven't spoken to yet.
Captain Donut says one. Yeah, I see one from Captain Donut.
Go ahead. What does it say?
It says, when is Cal going to play Alien Isolation?
What? That ain't no real question. I'm not playing Alien. No, it's not. No way. Is it?
Yes, it is. Look at 1216. The chat.
Oh my god.
He said it's important.
I'm not playing any Alien Isolation.
Come on, even for charity.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Christopher Hart says, is Sony still competing against Microsoft? I would assume so.
Yes.
I don't know why they would try to stop. As soon as they stop. Yeah,
it's like, if they weren't, why would they be doing all these very pro-consumer moves lately that people have been getting on them about for the last year and a half?
Yeah, that's my thing. I feel like people feel like Sony doesn't have to compete because they're winning this generation. And what I want people to understand is that consumers will always be like the people who are going to follow platforms are the hardcore. And that's just the truth. There were 80 million people who bought Xbox last generation and 80 million people who bought PS4 last generation, give or take a few million. But they pretty much were even with with Wii at like 100 million consoles, right? So this generation, Microsoft came out the gate, they flopped, and they've been behind ever since. And Sony is on their way to like 90 million consoles, and Microsoft is probably around 40 million consoles, maybe 45 million if we're lucky. With that being said, every time a new generation starts, it's a new generation. Things change, people change, kids get older. Some people stop playing games. Those things change. And if you let off the gas, if you decide that you're no longer going to compete, you will get left behind by $1 billion company. I'm $1 trillion company at this point. Microsoft are truly innovating. They are really doing a lot of things to make their platform as accessible and as future-proof as possible. And when this next Xbox come out, I guarantee you, they are not going to start this generation, the next generation, with a game that isn't native 4K with games at 60 frames per second. They are going for the benchmark. They're going to pump out something real powerful, and you're going to have a plethora of options to play their games in their ecosystem. Sony is already trying to put backwards compatibility in the PS5. They already went with downloads on PS Now. They've abandoned the indie scene, and now that they got their AAAs in order, and they've been pumping out first party, and now Microsoft is catching up with their first party and getting their indie stuff together, and been pumping out some pretty good indie games over the last couple of years as well. Both these guys are going to come out swinging in the next generation, and I don't think it's going to be as easy as people make it out to be. I truly don't think that, especially if Microsoft puts out really good quality first-party titles with these new studios, and there are the games that people want to play, because that's all Microsoft needs. All they need is to put out great hardware, don't have any issues like they did at the beginning of the generation, and first-party content that's going to entice people. And people will buy your platform because you already have a consumer-friendly platform as it is. So, Sony needs to continue to compete, because when they decided they're not going to, Microsoft will be right behind them and on their ass. You already look at Nintendo. Nintendo's doing extremely well. You see what happens. People just slept on Nintendo, and that Switch is coming. Every year I see it. I mean, every month I'm looking at that. And what is it called? The NPD? That thing be like 1.3 million Switches sold, 1.5 PS4 sold, and Xbox is like 500,000. But still, the Switch is coming. So you sleep on Nintendo, again, new console. For them, that's a new generation. I don't think people realize that's actually a next generation console. That's actually a generation. What is this? Generation what? 9? for us, or Generation 8?
The Xbox, PS4, and Wii U would have been Gen 8.
Okay, so Xbox One Generation. So the Wii, the Nintendo Switch is actually a Generation 9 console. But they're going to wind up coming out with another console. Because you got to remember, you had the Wii, which was on 360. Then they skipped ahead with the Wii U, which I guess you could say would be like the Xbox One X. But really, I looked at it like it was a new generation console because you couldn't play the Wii games on it. And then they dropped that and went with the Nintendo Switch, which is now like the next generation console. So they're actually a generation ahead. But by the time the next Xbox come out, the next PlayStation come out, they're supposedly coming out with another Switch that's upgraded. So who knows? And that's supposedly going to compete. I think they're just going to get left behind again because the next PS5 and the next Xbox is going to come out. It's going to be so powerful. I don't see how third parties can even hang on the next Switch. I just don't know. At least later on in the generation, anyway. So we'll see how it all pans out.
But we also gotta mention that this narrative where Microsoft isn't competing with everybody else either. That narrative isn't true. That's the whole reason why you can stream. You're gonna be able to stream your games to mobile devices. That they understand that Nintendo has a cornerstone in that market. You know what I mean? You can take your games wherever you want. They understand that. They want to take a part of that market too. So don't try to change the narrative that Microsoft has all this money and they don't have to compete, and Amazon and Google are the only competition. They got to compete with everybody on the market. If you make games, you're competing with everybody else that makes games.
The first thing I thought when I saw the xCloud announcement and they confirmed it was like with mobile devices is I thought they want in on the money the Switch is making.
Exactly.
They see the appeal there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Listen, I don't want to start no console war. This show was an Xbox show. We mostly talk about Xbox. We talk about Xbox news. We don't have anything against PlayStation. We love PlayStation. We love
Yes,
Nintendo.
no, he hates PlayStation. Don't trust him. Don't believe him.
This guy. We don't have no beef with PlayStation, stuff like that. We just prefer Xbox, and we talk about the platform a lot. We just want to see it succeed. And we've been talking about this for years, about Microsoft getting their act together. After coming out and trying to point out the right things that Microsoft was doing early in the gen and all the faults that they did later in the gen, and hopefully next generation they can come out swinging and keep the whole generation going forward and not have any issues. So we'll see what happens, man. But listen, that's going to be it for tonight's show. It's 12:30 a.m. I want to thank everybody for stopping out, at least on the East Coast it is. I want to thank everybody for stopping out, man. We'll be back next week, Saturday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are TIC_podcast. That's Tick Podcast, where we can find out what's going on with all the Xbox news, rumors, and content from yours truly. And follow Tick Games Network on Twitter for multi-plat news. For anything PlayStation, Nintendo, or Xbox related, you can get all your content there. Guys like Sam, who died with 484, who was there as an editor, as well as Edge XL, who was the editor. These guys do excellent jobs over there and putting out great content on time and early before most websites. So make sure you go support there as well. And you can catch us on iTunes, Google Music, and Spotify. So if you're in your car, anywhere in the world, you want to listen to us, just pop open the app and search TIC Podcast, and we will be there, and you can check us out. So that's going to be it for tonight's show. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. I'm your host, K-O-R SKL, with Anchorman V, B Money 101, and Dial 484, and we're off this planet. You guys have a great night. Peace.